Metal Gear Solid is a video game franchise that is almost nearing its 15th anniversary. It is also one of my favourite game series, and while it does receive a lot of criticism, it is my favourite series for not only having fantastic gameplay, but also a very deep and intricate storyline. The Metal Gear series includes 10 games that tell a story spanning 6 decades from 1964 to 2018, so each instalment is in a very different setting but stays true to its main gameplay of stealth and tactical espionage action. I'm only going to talk about the main 5 games in this series, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And I'm going to start off talking about the first instalment, Metal Gear Solid, released in 1998 for the Sony PlayStation. Metal Gear Solid starts off with an iconic opening scene in which Solid Snake, previously introduced in the games Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake for the very obscure console, the MSX2, swims through a tunnel and returns to land in a warehouse filled with enemy guards. This opening level is a very good example of a well-designed tutorial level. Instead of throwing players straight into the action, they must navigate a simple level within the guard's sight, to enter an elevator to get to Shadow Moses, the main portion of the game. This level is simply designed to teach the player the gameplay and mechanics of the game so they're able to progress further into Shadow Moses. The main meat and veg of the game consists of a story that will have you interested in progressing the game, gameplay that will thrill you, especially when you hear that sharp sound that will have you jumping at your skin after hearing it after concentrating on navigating a very hard boss fight without being seen. The boss fights are also really memorable, especially with Psycho Mantis, in which the character is able to read your memory card and mention other Konami games you have saved data of, and can read the input of your controller, meaning it is always one step ahead of the tactics you use to defeat him. After you defeat the game, you are given either a bandana, which gives you unlimited ammo, or a stealth suit on your next playthrough of the game, which gives you more reason to play the game again, now that you have abilities that weren't available to you before. Next is Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. When this game was announced, it was advertised as a highly anticipated sequel to Metal Gear Solid, boasting the same character and a new story and setting. However, sequels have been known to not live up to the standards of the original game or movie, and become a complete disappointment. In Metal Gear Solid 2, after completing your task on a tanker, this game takes a complete swerve implying the death of Solid Snake. The game then introduces you to a next scene which mirrors the introduction to the first game. Your character swims through the ocean before returning to land in a warehouse type level. However, instead of having to sneak past the guards like in the first game, a character looks just like Solid Snake, defeats them all with ease, and continues up the elevator just like in the first game. Your character is a representation of Metal Gear Solid 2 itself. It isn't confident enough to be as good as the original game, which is represented in this scene as Solid Snake, practically the original. After your character, Raiden, proceeds up the elevator, he removes his diving equipment in the same manner as Solid Snake did in the first game, only to reveal himself as a clean-shaven blonde male in his mid-20s. This represents how the game is trying to distance itself from its predecessor and present itself as an entirely new story that is set in the same universe with the same gameplay, but isn't trying to rely on copying the same things that made the predecessor good, while not bringing much new to the table. And it does. Metal Gear Solid 2 delivers a game that's reminiscent of its predecessor and contains everything that made the original very good, but can also stand on its own merits as a game that is absolutely fantastic, with a story that, while very interesting and convoluted, is very deep and interesting, and personally speaking, it's my favourite one out of the series so far. A few years later, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is released, and instead of exploring the futuristic world of 2005 to 2009, it explores the mid-60s during the Cold War, following the story of Solid Snake's father, Naked Snake, who was referred to in the previous game as Big Boss. While the game's departure from its cyberpunk setting into an era with such technology in its predecessors was unthought of, Metal Gear Solid 3 continues to use the same gameplay as mechanics of the first and second games. The new setting means that, like Metal Gear Solid 2, the game presents an entirely new story while still retaining the greatness of its predecessors. In my opinion, I feel there are some similarities between the characters of Solid Snake and his father Naked Snake in this series, and Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker from the Star Wars franchise. The life stories of Solid Snake and Naked Snake run in parallel with each other in the same way the life stories of Luke and Anakin do. Naked Snake turns into villainous Big Boss from Metal Gear Solid 1, 2 and 4, while Anakin turns into Darth Vader, the main villain of the original Star Wars trilogy. The story of Metal Gear Solid 3 deals with Naked Snake's independence after his former mentor boss defects to the Russians after he went from a young field agent to a worldwide known legend named Big Boss. The entire story of Solid Snake, Raiden and Naked Snake is wrapped up in Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. It's set in 2014 and contains elements of plot points of all 3 previous Metal Gear Solid games. There's not much to say about this one without majorly spoiling the plot, but I will say it does do the previous games justice and is a nice ending to the story of Solid Snake. So what is the future of Metal Gear Solid series? Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain was recently announced at this year's Electronic Entertainment Expo and promises a new generation of tactical espionage action by departing from the storyline based gameplay of all the previous games to a transition to an open world, completing missions in a similar fashion to games like Grand Theft Auto series. Metal Gear Solid 5 follows Naked Snake again, but 8 years after a coma, navigating Afghanistan during the Soviet War and building your own base operations like in the PSP spin-off Peace Walker, which bridges the gaps between Metal Gear Solid 3 and 5. Thank you for watching this review, and I hope you enjoyed listening to how I felt on the series. If you haven't played the games before, I really recommend getting the HD collection and Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PlayStation 3. The original game is also available on the PlayStation Network store for $7.99, or, right now, it's only £3.99. But since the PS3 is capable of playing PS1 games, you could prefer to pick it up on like eBay or Amazon, second hand, if you prefer physical copies like me. If you have played the games before, please feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below. Did you agree with my comments, or did you disagree with them? Did you feel differently? And again, thank you for watching.